Coming up on this episode of the BT Sport Boxing Show. Cracking weekend of action just gone. We'll get into the stunning result from Las Vegas as Teofimo Lopez beat Vasyl Lomachenko. In the UK, Lewis Ritson won a controversial decision against Miguel Vazquez. And we're going to get the hype train moving as Daniel Dubois and Dubois-Joyce join us on the show with less than 6 weeks to go until their showdown. Welcome to the BT Sport Boxing Show. I'm Adam Catterall. It's an absolute pleasure once again to be in your company and also an honour to be in Rain Man's company tonight. Yeah. How are you, big boy? Look at him, Mr. Ben Davison. Welcome back to the show, sir.
I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm good. Listen, I'm on a high because
I can tell.
When there's an undisputed crown on the line, it gets my mouth watering, let me tell you. And at the weekend, it didn't come bigger than Teofimo Lopez taking on Vasyl Lomachenko. Ben, you spoke last week in great depth about keys to victory, of how certain things will need to happen in order for certain men to be able to win that fight. What did you see from Teofimo Lopez that fell into your plan?
I don't know the best way to go about this because I don't want to undermine Teofimo's performance by any stretch of the imagination, but I want to bring up something that's the biggest factor in my opinion, which actually starts with Lomachenko. The biggest factor for me was the moment a 23-year-old that hasn't completed 2 rounds at World Championship level going in against the pound-for-pound number 1, Lomachenko let him grow in confidence straight away. In that breakdown, we spoke about keys to victory. So I'm going to start with Lomachenko, to be honest. Then I'll go on to Teofimo Lopez. Have we got enough time here?
Of course we have, mate. Listen, this is your show. You go. I'll just kick back. Go for it, pal.
So we spoke about keys to victory. We spoke about Lomachenko's non-punching activity. Mm-hmm. In those opening rounds, I would have called it non-punching inactivity. When you come up against somebody that carries that power, you have to have an equalizer. And that form of equalizer can be a number of things. And for me, I fully understand Lomachenko thinking, I'm in there with a big man, big puncher. I don't want to be exchanging with him early. But you don't let that man grow in confidence. So I understand he didn't want to start exchanging with Teofimo Lopez. But let's say you're in a game of poker and you've got a bad hand. Sometimes you have to bluff. Sometimes you have to bluff, and he should have gone out there, set a pace with his non-punching activity as though he was going to really set a pace. Teofimo Lopez, every time Lomachenko threw, had a reply, sharp on the counter, which meant what? Very reactive. Play with that. Play with that. Let him be very, very reactive. Non-punching activity, feint him, sell him something. Throw short on purpose, half a step back. Let him keep being overreactive. That's how you let someone who's a big puncher like that take a little bit of steam out of them without taking silly risks. But the non-punching activity became non-punching inactivity. There was not enough of it, and it was a real poor decision to start the fight in that manner. In my opinion.
But had he felt something from Teofimo? Had he felt power? Had he felt the speed? Because let's be honest, in those first 6 rounds, Teofimo was most certainly dictating the centre of the ring. He was pushing Lomachenko back. Another key to victory that you pointed out last week, that he had to dictate that pace. He was on the front foot. He was very aggressive. He was attacking the body. And when he was hitting him, he was digging him properly. Maybe Loma felt that and thought to himself, at the ranges that I normally fight at, I can't actually get in there at the moment and risk getting chinned off this kid.
He didn't need to. He did not need to, but you don't allow someone who's a big puncher. If your tactics are, okay, I'm going to come on a little bit later once a little bit of steam has come out, you're not taking much steam out of somebody, allowing them to box at a pace that they're choosing to box at. And as you said, Lopez was dictating the pace of that fight. So he was really making it hard work for himself. High levels of non-punching activity, making Lopez react heavily. That's how you burn somebody out without exchanging with them. But there wasn't enough of that. There was also a couple of other key points. Lomachenko is known to be such a skillful boxer, but each time Lopez came in with his shots and stepped in and stepped towards Lomachenko, he came back front foot first, effectively walking backwards in a high guard, which leaves you with no base underneath you, which means that you cannot do anything. And he was going back in straight lines, ending up with his back against the ropes. I mean, that was really, really poor. And I'm going to go as far as to say the more fundamentally sound boxer last night, or Saturday night, should I say, was Teofimo Lopez. And a big part of that was that when Teofimo Lopez attacked, Lomachenko didn't have his base underneath him. He was walking back front foot first, losing positioning, didn't have a base underneath him and in position to give a threat back. We spoke about before keys to victory, we spoke about non-punching activity of Lomachenko, but we also spoke about Teofimo Lopez having to ask questions back. Now, I've seen a lot of people coming out saying, Teofimo Lopez, he established his jab, he did this, he did that. He wasn't snapping Lomachenko's head back with a jab. And that's not me criticising. This is me saying that he was smarter than that. Because by committing with every jab, he would have gave Lomachenko opportunities to counter those jabs. What he did was he asked questions, which is what we spoke about in the breakdown before the fight. He was jabbing at Lomachenko's glove, asking a question back at Lomachenko. What are you going to do if? So he's jabbing at his glove, letting him get comfortable with that. From there, guess what? If he steps in with a jab to the head, we know that Lomachenko's going to go boom over the shoulder, come back with something. Instead, he'd done something smart. Something else that we spoke about in the breakdown was changed his level. This time he did it with a right hand to the body. When he was throwing to the body, he was forcing Lomachenko to step back. As I said, Lomachenko was walking back front foot first, which was even worse. Therefore, reopening the distance, not allowing Lomachenko to even get close to even start approaching his own distance to be able to attack. One of the other key things that we spoke about was in the clinch. That was something that I didn't think Teofimo was overly fantastic in. There was a few times that he sort of looked at the ref for a bit of help after getting it while in the clinch. But it was at the point where it didn't matter. Yeah. As I say, he had been able to dictate the pace of that fight the whole way through. But the way he went about it was so smart. Jabbing at his glove, level changes, shooting to the body, reopening the distance, constantly giving a threat. Always had his base. If Lomachenko attacked, stepping back foot first, always had a base. If Lomachenko did commit, there was something coming back and a threat back. Always asking questions of Lomachenko. And it was a brilliant performance from Teofimo Lopez. But tactically, it was very, very, very poor from Lomachenko, in my opinion. And I'm a massive, massive Lomachenko fan. But like I say, when you've got a 23-year-old, and this is a lesson to any fighter who's an experienced World Championship fighter who's going in there with a young, up-and-coming, hungry dog, they're always tough to come up against. But you do not let that man grow in confidence. And in this situation, I understand Lomachenko not wanting to exchange early with Teofimo Lopez, but there's things you can do to set a pace without taking risks and make that boxer box at a pace that he doesn't want to box at, that is uncomfortable for him, to take that little bit of steam out that you're looking for to be able to press a little bit later in the fight.
You've got to be impressed with the lads. First of all, ring IQ, Teofimo Lopez is what I'm referring to now, and also the mentality of being able to deal with a situation like that. We said right at the start of the show, this is a lad who's 23 years of age. He's not even had 2 rounds of World Championship boxing. He became a world champion in his last fight against Richard Comey. He chooses, and there's a lot of guys at lightweight that are talking the talk. There's not a lot of them walking the walk. He chooses to defend his title in a world title unification for the undisputed championship of the world against the pound-for-pound number 1. The mentality of this kid is off the scale. And when the storm did come, and Lomachenko did put his foot down in the second half of the fight, from rounds 8, 9, 10, he started having a bit of a go. He weathered that storm, Teofimo Lopez.
He didn't just weather the storm, he had answers back for the storm. I'm not saying that you know, obviously that I would say that Lomachenko did win those rounds, but it wasn't like he completely lost his way. He was still giving a threat back, didn't allow Lomachenko, still having moments in those rounds. Again, and this is why I'm exerting the points and exaggerating what actually happened, because a lot of people going, oh, it was his power, oh, it was his size. To a certain degree, is Luke Campbell not a bigger frame than Teofimo Lopez? Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. So clearly it wasn't just size, was it? It was down to his ring IQ. He asked those questions back. Lomachenko's fantastic at asking you questions, and as we spoke about before, getting you to play to his music. Teofimo Lopez didn't have that. He said, no, I'm going to ask you a question back. And yes, coupled with the size and the power, with the IQ, it was too much. And I do think that a big part of it was the early part in how Lomachenko went about the start of that fight. But I don't want to hear it was just his size. You know, it was very, very smart stuff. And like I say, Teofimo Lopez jab and size. No, it was what he was doing with his jab. It was how he went about it. You know, he knew, let me not keep committing with a jab to the head. He was jabbing Lomachenko's glove because he knew if he stepped into the jab to the head every time, predictable, someone of Lomachenko's ability and IQ will make you pay for that. He was varying up the distances of those jabs, varying up the targets of those jabs, changing his level, shooting to the body, reopening the distance. And every time Lomachenko stepped to him, he had a great base underneath him and was able to fire something with real intent back to make him, to ask a question back of Lomachenko. What are you going to do about that?
Love it. Listen, we're going to talk about the possibilities of what is next for Teofimo Lopez, and I'm sure we'll touch upon Vasyl Lomachenko where he goes from this situation. But I just want to quickly refer to what happened in the post-fight press conference, because obviously the new undisputed lightweight champion of the world addressed the world's media, and he made a wonderful point referring to Floyd Mayweather. Take a listen to this.
This is the new generation. We're bringing back what the old school was, fight the best, and you push on it. I'm not here to pick and choose who I want to fight because I want to defend my title and keep that O. No, nah. And now, who knows where my figures are going to go up, if they're going to go up after this. I mean, that's the thing. Everyone wants to be like Mayweather. In order to be like Mayweather, you got to be like Pretty Boy first. You got to fight those guys that they don't think that you'll win. You got to fight the likes of those guys that are undefeated and is a good fight in order to make those type of millions that people want to make. Why are you buying so many chains and all this at an early age? You're not making nothing. You're not making not a dollar. So, I mean, I'm just thankful that I'm able to be the first one to do that and push for the young ones out there.
23-year-old lad gets the game. One of the big points that he makes in there, and a lot of people kind of forget this, there are two aspects to Floyd Mayweather's fight career. Everybody knows about Money Mayweather, but Money Mayweather only became Money Mayweather after the fantastic win against Oscar De La Hoya, and he became a pay-per-view star. Pre-Oscar De La Hoya, he was Pretty Boy Floyd, and he was ferocious. He was knocking dudes out, and Teofimo understands the aspects of what goes into making a superstar. This kid is on the fast track to superstardom. I'm absolutely convinced by it. Where are you at with him, Ben?
Yeah, I think that I was very impressed when I saw that. I think it shows he's got a great head on young shoulders. The world's his oyster at the minute, so it seems. He's certainly got the potential to keep striving on. He looks like he's got the mentality. I was also very interested in the fact that he said, listen, his dad's a little bit outspoken for me, if I'm being completely honest. He said,
that's fair.
I've met him, seemed like a nice guy, but he said, sometimes I wish he could just be my dad, not always my coach.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes, extraordinary measures to achieve extraordinary things. And he's been able to do so. And that's partly because his dad has constantly been his coach. He's not gave him, the ability that I'm going to be your typical dad. And I know, again, going back to it, Floyd Mayweather will say the same thing, His dad was very hard on him. Lomachenko will say the same thing. His dad was very hard on him. Because, like I say, to achieve extraordinary things takes extraordinary commitment, dedication, sacrifices. And if he can keep that up, which he looks like he's got the right mentality after seeing that, he's definitely striving to go on even further. And I love to see that. Too often you see great fighters achieve good things in a sport, and then all of a sudden, I've achieved my goal now. And it's, where do they go from here? But to keep setting yourself new goals, and I say all the time about Josh Taylor, he become world champion, wanted to unify the division. Now he wants to become undisputed. Then he wants to become a two-weight world champion. And he keeps setting himself new goals, and looks like Teofimo's got the same mindset.
Well, it's interesting that you just brought up your boy in this conversation, because there's always going to be questions now as to what next for Teofimo, and Josh gets this all the time when he's going through and achieving all the great things that he's achieving. I'm going to say something now, and I'm going to go on record with it. For me, outside of the heavyweight division, The biggest fight in boxing, and I know Jack Catterall will get on to me. He said, "What are you talking about, mate? I've got a mandatory situation to sort out here." But for me, outside of the heavyweight division, the biggest fight in boxing is Teofimo Lopez moving up in weight to face the winner of Taylor Ramirez. Would you go along with that?
I would go along with that. Do I think it's the right decision for Teofimo Lopez? No, if I'm being honest. Not the fact that because he's fighting, if it would be a case of him fighting Josh, I'm just saying for him to step straight up now, he's 23 years old. You know, he said that he can still make lightweight. Give him a little bit more time, you know, he'll only get thicker, only get a little bit bigger. You know, with a proper conditioning program, he'll only fill out into that weight a little bit better, a little bit more maturity. I know that last night he had the real physical attributes to be able to do what he did, but you step up a weight, those guys are bigger guys again, you know. Effectively not taking nothing away, but he was boxing a super featherweight, if not featherweight, last night in his frame. Okay, these like welterweights like Josh Taylor are a lot bigger dudes, and a lot of Teofimo's physical attributes will be taken away from him, or the advantages in those areas will be with his opponents. Not to say that he's not capable, because I think he's a fantastic fighter and he certainly will be capable to be a threat at 140. But for me, I would like to see him, you know, just be a little bit more, take his time a little bit. And he's only 23, let himself mature a little bit more before stepping up another weight class.
I could literally sit here all day talking about that fight, mate. Absolutely captivating. In fact, as soon as we finish recording the show, I'm going to go back and watch it again. There was lots of other things going on in the world of boxing over the weekend. Don't forget, still to come on the show, we're going to be joined by Dubois-Joyce and Daniel Dubois. They're going to be on the programme together. But before they get here, let's talk about Peterborough at the weekend. Lewis Ritson in action against Vazquez. There's not a cat in hell's chance that Lewis Ritson won that fight. I'm sorry, Lewis, you know I'm a big fan of yours, but I watched that and I can't believe that you've taken that home on the card. Some of the scoring in that fight and on the undercard as well, in a couple of the fights a little bit further down, including the one with Thomas Asomba, was absolutely shocking. And it wasn't isolated. I don't want to single out purely Terry O'Connor just on this show and give him an absolute kicking, because we've had some bad cards in the past, the likes of the Adelaide Birds of this world, and we saw at the weekend an absolute shocker in the Teofimo Lopez and Vasyl Lomachenko card. There's no way that
Alejandro Roshin, I'd like to put him in there.
There you go. Chuck them all in, mate. Chuck them all in, because you've experienced it as well in Los Angeles, of course. Now, something's got to be done about this, Ben. If I'm incompetent at my job, my bosses hold me up. They pull me over the coals. Sometimes, if I'm consistently incompetent, I'll get booted out and somebody else will get brought in who can do the job better. I am sure it's exactly the same in your line of work. If you had a fighter that was consistently losing, I'm sure they'd change it up and go somewhere else. Why is it different for a judge at ringside who is consistently putting in bad cards?
Listen, it's a difficult one. Robert Smith's come out and said that he didn't see anything wrong with the judging. I mean, you know, Lewis come down and done some rounds with Josh, and Thomas Wald come down and done some rounds with Shabazz Massoud. Great guys, you know, really, really lovely guys. Really like them. So I'm not speaking ill of anybody, but I did feel like Vazquez won that fight quite clearly. The Thomas Wald fight was a real difficult one. There was sort of moments back and forth in that fight.
I agree with that. I personally gave it to Thomas Asomba, but I can totally understand a draw in that fight. Yes. But I can't understand how Ward wins that fight. I don't understand how he's been given that. I understand if you've given it 4 rounds apiece and obviously the cut has stopped the fight. I get that. But I don't understand how he's won that by a couple of rounds after 8 rounds. I really don't.
I mean, I think it was Paulie Malignaggi mentioned about the judges actually being interviewed after the fight. You know, trainers get interviewed. You know, fighters get interviewed and asked about their performance, and
absolutely justify what you've done.
Judges are effectively having to perform. You know, they have to perform. They've got a job to do. So I think that, you know, that would be something that that would be interesting. I think it very may well prevent a lot of the poor cards, or certainly would prevent the text messaging during a fight anyway.
Well, just on that, there's loads of pictures going around social media at the moment. We've seen, of course, Terry O'Connor, looking away from the fight, looking at something in his hand. Can't confirm whether it is a phone, whether it's a notepad, whether it's an app that he's using to score the fight, but he's most certainly not looking at the fight. And the card that he puts in for Ritson-Vazquez of 117-111 is an absolute joke to boxing. Right, that's it for negativity. I'm not going to be talking about him anymore. Started this show on a positive, talking Teofimo Lopez and Vasyl Lomachenko. The negative stuff's gone. Let's get on to more positive stuff. November 28th, it goes down on BT Sport. Dynamite versus the Juggernaut. It's going to be Dubois versus Joyce. You want it, we want it, we're all excited for it. And both these guys are giving up a bit of their time to come and join us on the show tonight. Guys, how are you? Daniel?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling well. I'm ready to go. I'm just in the middle of training camp, so it's all systems go.
All systems go indeed. And Joe, welcome back to the show, mate. How are you feeling? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's Sunday and just taking it easy today. So, yeah, good. And going to have a hard week training next week. So it's good to have a little rest up and recover for the beast thing that we'll get next week.
Ben, if I can come to you regarding the tactical breakdown of this, because every single fan watching it is thirsty for the fight. November the 28th, we're finally getting it. I'll come to the psychology of it and making the fight with both of these gentlemen in a moment. But how do you, regarding the keys to victory for both Daniel and Joe, how would you break it down?
Well, Joe's known for, he's a big man, Joe, and he's got a ferocious engine, fantastic engine. And the questions that people ask, I'm sure that Daniel will feel like he has the answers already, but the questions that people ask is, how will Daniel cope when somebody sets the pace on him and makes him box at a pace that he's uncomfortable with? And if someone that can take him into the later rounds, and people often say someone who can take his shot and then ask questions of him after. Joe's known for having a fantastic chin and a fantastic engine, so if there's anybody to ask those questions, it's Joe Joyce. But then again, people often say about Joe, maybe defensively, his movement maybe not as good as what people as good as what it may need to be. And Daniel's a massive puncher and a big guy himself, sound fundamentals, and that's someone that will ask those questions of Joe. So it's, for me, both guys are going to ask real questions of each other, and you've got to take your hat off to both guys for taking the fight. It's a brilliant fight, and no matter what, I believe that both guys will still be able to go on and do something in the heavyweight division.
Joe, would you go along with that? Everything that Ben's just said there regarding the tactical breakdown and the keys to victory, would you go along with what he just said?
Yeah, I'd go along with that. Yeah, I think my experience, my engine and my chin will definitely be tested by Daniel. Attributes. He's a very strong guy, and he's got obviously good boxing fundamentals, a good jab, and it's going to be a hard fight. So I'm just getting prepared behind the scenes and ready for battle.
You are exactly giving the fans exactly what they want, mate. And regarding it happening behind closed doors and it not being on pay-per-view, we know full well that both of you have taken a haircut on that, as of the promoter, as of the TV company. So what's the mentality behind taking this fight at this time for you? Why take it now?
Because there's no other fight out there right now like that is going to bring so much attention and also is going to, push us forward for the new year, depending on who wins. It's like there's no, I don't know, there's not really any other fight that is worthwhile taking, in my opinion. I think this is it's a big fight. It's got a big risk, but it's got great rewards, and it's something that I'm hungry for, the rewards and the recognition that I'll get from beating this man here.
To answer your question there, Adam, quickly, it's obviously a sign that both fighters believe that they can win the fight. So, as you said, for them to be taking the fight under the circumstances, both fighters must believe that they can win the fight. So, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Again, the fighters will have questions of themselves as well. So, obviously, they're not going to give away their game plans. But does Joe not set such a pace, thinking, well, Daniel's heavy-handed, I don't want to come out setting such a pace and start exchanging early? But then does Daniel think, well, Joe's got a fantastic engine, so I don't want to exert too much too early? And does he hold back? So, it's it's a real interesting one. It
definitely
is. Like from start to finish, it's really going to be an interesting one. The opening round's going to be intriguing.
Daniel, if I can come to you and ask you a very similar question to what I've just asked Joe regarding why take this fight now. You're the younger man. You've got a lot of years ahead of you in this heavyweight game. You would have been excused to maybe not take this fight at this particular point. You're very well ranked with the WBO. Maybe a shot for you at a title is just around the corner. So why take on Joe-Joyce right now?
I think it's a fight I need right now at this point in my career. And this fight is everything I prepared for since I was young. This is the door to the world title fight for me. And the next fight after this, I can't go backwards. It's only forward. And that's what I want to do. I've got in this sport from a young age to, excel fast and excel quickly. So, getting Joe out of the way and beating him and getting the obstacle out of the way will, move me on real quick for, big fights.
When you guys, obviously, as Joe alluded to, you've already had a press conference for this because of the original dates that were set for this fight. It's fallen off a couple of times because of the pandemic. It's been rescheduled, but we're finally getting it on November 28th on BT Sport. When you did come together, there was a bit of pushing and shoving. Daniel, I'll come to you. Who instigated that?
It just happened, man. It just happened. My intentions towards him are, what can I say, hostile, and I want to beat the guy. So we're not friends. It's business, but I really want to win. And this is a fight I'm 100% all in for. I'm going to give my soul and everything I've got for this.
Joe, just on you, and on that pushing and shoving at the original press conference, I'll ask you the same question. Who started it? Was it you or was it him?
Well, it's, we get close face to face, we're about to fight. So it's, I was seeing what he's made of, and the young pup rose to the occasion, gave me a little push.
Guys, I've got a quick question. Obviously, with the situation at hand, there's not a load of over 6'5" decent quality heavyweights in the UK. Has it been tough getting sparring, or I would imagine that you both know the sort of guys that each other would be sparring, and most heavyweights that are over 6'5" and any good in this country are the top two at the minute, really.
Good question, Ben. Daniel, do you want to pick that up?
Yeah, I think my manager's been searching around for everyone, and he's sorting that out. I'm relying on him to sort that out, but we'll find some decent amateur boxers to spar and find, some decent pros and everything. And I think it will all come together this time for the fight. And
Joe, yourself, same question, mate?
Well, yeah, we, there's plenty of, you probably have seen some of the information on the news with, potential sparring opportunities.
You're referring to AJ, aren't you, Joe? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
So has that started? Have you started sparring with Anthony?
No, I haven't as yet. But that's that's on the table, and there's other names that who would imitate Daniel pretty well. So I'm just getting in, and I'm going to pick it up towards the end of the camp and have some, real heavy hitters in. I think next week I've already been sparring with Johnny Fisher. He's a big, strong, up and coming lad. We did quite a good few rounds last week. So, sparring's going pretty well. Training's going well. My fitness and my strength is picking up. And, it's all part of the plan. Like I've been doing this long enough, and I have the correct trainers to get me where I need to go. So we've got a plan, and it's just about sticking to the plan and for everything to go as planned.
Joe, if I can come back to you on past interviews that me and you have done, you're always polite, always relaxed, always courteous. Nothing seems to bother you. You seem to be a very chilled out guy. Has this guy got to you? Has Daniel got to you? You referred to him as the young pup before. Has he got under your skin?
No, not really. But it's going to get tasty on fight night, and we can see what he's made of, what he's learned, and how his power's getting on, and if I can take it. And then I just think it's going to be a great fight, and I can't wait.
Daniel, just before we let you get on with the rest of your evening, anything you'd like to say to Joe before we clear off?
Come ready for fight night. I'm gonna be ready, and just can't wait. I can't wait for them to bring it on, bring the show, and let's get it started. I'm gonna crush him, and I'm gonna win.
I thought you were going to make that pillow reference that you made on social media. That's what I thought you were going to say. Bring your pillow for the fight. That's what I thought you were going to do, man.
Putting me to sleep already.
Now, hats off to both of you, though, for taking the fight. It's a great fight. The best fight that will take place in the UK this year, I think, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Well said, Ben. Daniel, thank you very much for your time. Just before you do go, though, Joe, give you the last word. Anything you'd like to say to the young pup? He's told you that he's putting you to sleep. What's your response?
Let's get it on. Let's see if you're ready. See if you're man enough to take me on, to take on the juggernaut.
No, I'm going to stop you, Joe. You know it.
I don't think so.
I'm ready.
Dynamite and Juggernaut going at it live on BT Sport. 28th of November. Free. Not on pay-per-view. These two gentlemen are taking a haircut. They want the fight badly. They know what it means. There may be an opportunity in 2021 to be fighting for that WBO crown. Make sure you come and join us for this fight. Guys, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks. Good stuff.
Thank you very much to Daniel and Joe for giving up a bit of their time to come and join us on the show. Ben, pleasure as always being in your company, mate. I'll send you a few quid off me Teofimo winnings, all right?
I heard it was a good
£10.50. Listen, we've got an action-packed show lined up for you next week as we preview everything that's going on Halloween. So make sure you come and join us. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and we'll catch you next time.